So, like I said, the last period, just do your best. Try to make sure your grades are where you want to be. Start lining up for what you want to do this summer. Obviously, things are starting to open up a little bit. Try to figure out your summer school schedule, all that fun stuff. All right. What I would ask everybody to do is go to our modules for week 13, please. And then go to the page 4.6 today. I'm going to let people in Zoom here. And I'm going to do the same thing. All right. For those of you on Zoom, welcome. Hope you had a great break. Here's what I want to do before we get going too far. One thing that you did over break that you either enjoyed, found relaxing, peaceful, etc. Doesn't matter if it's at your house or whether you were in some far off place. Let's start off with Ronald. What do you got? Those of you on Zoom, since there's so many in this class, type in the chat box. One thing you did over break that you enjoyed. I'll start off with, I took my kids fishing like 5 times. It was pretty fun. Went to a state park. Okay, it was pretty basic. What's that? Video games. Taylor. Cool. Mace. Basketball. New clothes. Cool. Vegas. Wow. You did what? Where's that? Huh. Cool. Just staying home. So that was a popular response with sleeping last period. Family. Oh, indoor zip line around here? Huh. Yep. Worked. What? Family. All right. Let's see what we got on the Zoom. Sleep in, hung out. Florida, sleep, video games, tattoo. Nice. Shopping, relaxing. Chicago, hung out with family. Sounds fun. Like I said, getting to spend time with my kids for about 9 days was sometimes want to pull your hair out. Other times it was awesome. It's kind of dependent. I also stayed up way too late watching basketball, like 6 days of the break, because of the way that it started off Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then went Saturday, Monday. So the kids wake up at the same time every morning, regardless of how late I stay up and watch basketball. So such is life. Anyways, all right, let's go ahead. I'm going to share the screen for those of you who are with me here in the room. If you could pay attention, please look up here. Let's get headphones out, please, out of your ears. Put them away. Let's put the cell phone somewhere where you can't see them, please. I realized how distracted I am by both of those last period as well. So they were going off my pocket. I'm getting emails while I'm trying to teach. So I get it. We're back to a different world again. All right. Here's what we've got for you. All right. So this was the intro from yesterday. I've got 36 submissions. I said I wanted this turned in at the end of the class today. Depending on how fast our Nearpod goes, we might be able to go over a few of the answers so that you can get this turned in. It's only like 9 or 10 questions. It should be pretty quick. It was only a couple pages of reading. I had to cover some stuff Mr. Renshaw missed. And then Thursday, we'll get ready for the start of World War I. Okay. All right. So that was this. Like I said, if we have time, we'll go over that at the end of the period, and then you can get it turned in. Then for today, Your class's Nearpod, the link is right here. Before you click on that link, please click on the guided note sheet. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and download that. Actually, I have it right here. So I'll switch up the share and should look like this right here. So these are the key concepts we're going to talk about on the left. I already put them in the graphic organizer for you. So nationalism, bonds that create a nation state, Italy after the Congress of Vienna, question mark, a couple people that were important, the papal states, and then challenges. So this is what I wanted to get done today. So all you're going to do, I realize that Nearpod and Pear Deck aren't the greatest to actually take notes because you get to see it, but then you don't really have a great way to go back and review it. So I want you to have this up on your screen at the same time that you have your Nearpod up, okay? Does everyone understand that? So we're going to try to kind of multitask here so that you get the information better and have access to it for your quiz that'll end up probably being on next Monday, okay? And then you don't have to worry about going back through Nearpods when you're trying to look up stuff, okay? Just right there in front of you. Now, the significance at the end of after we're done going over this, I'll go over the significance with you, or you can help me. And none of these are supposed to be more than like 10 to 15 words. Okay, so paraphrase, summarize, don't just type in word for word or copy and paste what I have on there. There's no point. Okay. Put in your own words. Austin, what's the question?
Do we have to turn in these guided notes?
1 second, Austin. Okay, Austin, ask again. What is it?
Do we have to turn in the guided notes?
Okay, say that again, please.
Do we have to turn in the guided notes?
I knew somebody was gonna ask this. No, but do you need to do it? Yes. I mean, why would I make it if I didn't want you to do it? It's kind of a rhetorical question, right? If I have to start collecting my will, I don't really want to, because this is just for you and I'm trying to help you gather the information easier, okay? All right. So I'm gonna go back here and reshare this. So come on the Nearpod, click on this link and it should take you for period 2. It should take you to this screen right here. And for those of you that are at home, join.nearpod.com, or I'm going to put this in the chat box for you. So you have both at your disposal. All right. Anybody in the room confused? You all get on this right now? We can get started, try to go as fast as we can here. All right, so today, let me see how many we have first, I guess. We got 25. That's pretty good. A few of us still waiting on you, but we're getting better. Declan, you go by DJ. All right. Okay, remember, you're not going to get your participation points unless you get on the Nearpod. So you want to make sure you do that. All right, so first thing we're going to try to look at today is this thing called nationalism. What's the root word of nationalism? Nation. Okay, so that should give you a pretty good hint. So in 10 words or less, try to define what the word nationalism means. This is completely off the top of your head. Obviously, it can be a guess. You got a minute. What does the word nationalism mean to you? Nice. Pride in one's nation. 4 words. Support and pride for one's nation. 6 words. Being loyal, supporting your nation. A country's group of rules or beliefs. An area or nation that controls a bunch of stuff. I don't know. That's fine. All right, just put something in here. All right, that is time. We had 81% participation. Okay. Like I said, no right or wrong answers. I'm not exposing your name on here. So I'm just trying to see what you know. So in your note sheet, this is where you want to write down the key idea of nationalism. It is that belief that one's greatest loyalty should not be to a king or an empire, but to a nation of people who share a common culture and history. So the reason why I bolded people who share a common culture or history was I wanted you to make sure you get that in your key idea. Is that people who are nationalistic typically share some type of common culture and history. Is nationalism and patriotism the same thing? Nope. Nationalism is a feeling. Patriotism is an action. There's a difference there, folks. All right, so people who share a common culture and history typically want to become a nation. So they are nationalistic or have nationalism. All right. Good. So again, hopefully you got that in your note sheet. So my next question for you. This is going to be unique to you. So again, no right or wrong answers at home. There should be no difficulty in terms of like being nervous about the right or wrong answer. It's completely about you. We all have our own unique nationality, even though we live in a large common nation. We live in a nation that has 50 different states. Okay, and we all come from a lot of various different backgrounds as well. What is one thing, image, event, or etc. event, anything that defines your nationality, you as a person, okay? Like your own culture, your own unique thing to be nationalistic about. Go ahead and put that in. Let's see what we can come up with. Hello, Austin. Come on in. You can toss that. It's fun. Yeah. All right. So something unique to the nationality is your hair. All right. That's cool. I think I would put my Lutheran heritage because I have 5 uncles that are Lutheran ministers, and my grandfather was a Lutheran minister. Being Jamaican, great. Different types of foods, height, sports, family, friends, culture, food, hairstyles, my features, being half Mexican, okay? My skin color. Good. All right. We've got about 2 seconds left here. Type it in. All right, we ended up with 96%. Those of you who aren't answering, try to get in, please. So, my reaction to colder climates. My Haitian, African American, so different type of language and food. Good. See a lot of awesome answers. Those of you, I'm sharing this with the class and those of you in person here. My family's Australian background. Interesting. So I think we can all agree, if we just look at this, that we have a lot of different responses to this question, right? But yet we all live in a nation. Now, I want you to go one past this now and think about what are some events, pictures, or symbols that could reflect the nationalism of the United States. What do you think? Okay. What are some pictures, events, or symbols? So, I mean, again, it doesn't necessarily have to be just like, okay, the flag. It can be an event. And you can think outside the box here. I'm curious what our students, you as a class, we think is a national, something that is nationalistic. So brings together culture and pride of a country through some kind of symbolic event or image. All right. Go ahead now. We got 1 minute and 30 seconds. Be honest. I'm trying to get to understand you as people as well. And as unique individuals. An oak tree. Lady Liberty, the White House. Amanda Gorman's speech, protest and church even. Black Lives Matter. Veterans Day or New Year's. Black Lives Matter protests. Eagle, the flag, sports, bald eagle. Our ability to freely express our opinions. Some of the parades, national anthem, how slavery happened, Lady Liberty, Uncle Sam, protest, 9/11, 9/11. Okay. Those of you who are still yet to respond, this is kind of what I was hoping to get. So, as a country, even though we don't necessarily all, like some people don't agree on certain things, things that we can commonly agree on is your ability to speak freely, right? Or you're supposed to be able to. Some symbols, the White House, the idea that we can protest. That's excellent. Okay. So that's what, even though we're in a very polarizing situation in our country right now, I think a lot of us can agree on that because of the election, especially. It hasn't always been like that. Okay. Even 10 years ago, it wasn't like that. Between Democrats and Republicans, what I'm saying. I think obviously Black Lives Matter, that movement is getting stronger, and that is definitely moving in the right direction. It needs, we'll see where it goes. And obviously the injustice that's occurred in our country for 200 plus years, it's about time things change, okay, or it get better at a faster rate. But there are symbols such as even like 9/11 or the raising of the flag at Iwo Jima, if you've ever seen that. Just kind of like things that put a little pride in your country. So that is U.S. nationalism to an extent. Today I want to look at two countries that would have quite a bit of an effect on the world in the late 1800s and early 1900s, and that's Italy and Germany. Today we're just going to look at Italy. So in your note sheet, I wanted to take a look at some bonds that create a nation state. And most of you hit this when I just asked you this, okay? So when you're writing down your notes, all I would write down are the words that are in capital letters. Okay, on your note sheet. I wouldn't waste time writing down the other things. I'm just gonna go over them briefly with you. Okay, but bonds that create a nation state. So nationality, this idea that you have a common ethnic ancestry, real or imagined. So whereas the United States, they kind of referred to as a melting pot, right? There are other places around the world where people can trace their ancestry back 1,000 years in the same place. Language. Even though there are different dialects, kind of one is chosen as the main language. Culture, food, dress, behavior, ideals. A lot of you said that that's how you define yourself, your culture. Is through your hair or what you wear, etc. So you understand that. History, again, in the United States, they typically look to things that have changed our history. World War I, World War II, the Civil Rights Movement, the Korean War, the Vietnam conflict, the Great Depression, okay, things like that. In history books, they will talk about the summer of 2020 and the Black Lives Matter protests, right? Those are defining characteristics that bring together a culture and the history. Religion, okay, again, in the United States, there's kind of been this slow movement a little bit away from religion, but that still kind of defines a lot of people. Okay, and I still think, even though maybe we don't want to admit it so much, but Christianity still has quite an impact on the US. Territory, so certain territory that belongs to ethnic group or its land. This is where things got a little interesting. As Mr. Renshaw explained before you went on break, you remember how countries started just stealing other cultures' lands, right? Africa, China, India, Indonesia, just like the Spanish did when they came and claimed all of South and Central America for themselves, essentially, the Portuguese in Brazil. Okay. So eventually these people that live in that area want their own stuff. All right, let's move on. So this is a picture of Giuseppe Garibaldi, and this is basically kind of shows you like what could provoke nationalism from just this picture. If you're an Italian, you see this picture, what could provoke nationalism? Jayla, what do you think? It's like a war, somebody's got a flag. What else? Yeah. His uniform. What's he carrying? A sword, right? A sword at a time when people had machine guns and different things. And he's, it looks like kind of this just like, this is what we call romanticism. This is a period of romanticism where it was like they painted these paintings to make you feel like a sense of pride or honor in this. This is Giuseppe Garibaldi. All right, so this is where on your note sheet we are Italy after the Congress of Vienna. Yep, so right here. So on your note sheet we are 3 down. All right, so after the Congress of Vienna, Italy was still divided. If you don't remember what the Congress of Vienna was, that was when Napoleon finally got kicked out for a second time, and they put him out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and they said, all right, we're going to basically try to figure out what to do with the mess that he created. And so they still left Italy and a bunch of city-states, kind of like it was during the Renaissance. Austria ruled Lombardy, which is where Milan is, and they ruled Venice, which is where Venezia is, which was also 2 of the most wealthy areas. Spanish Bourbon family. Yeah, the people that would go all the way back to Louis. ruled down here the kingdom of the two Sicilies. So this is Naples and Palermo, Sorrento. Maybe you've heard of that before. Okay, the boot of Italy and then the little island off of it. And then the Pope, this whole thing in red right here, the Catholic Church and the Pope still controlled all of that land. Okay. So then you also had this people right here called the Kingdom of the Piedmont, which they controlled Sardinia, this island here, and then they controlled this area where there's a city called Turin or Torino. Maybe you've heard of it before. They hosted the Olympics probably right around when you were born. There's a soccer team there called Juventus that plays there. Okay, very, very wealthy. A lot of mineral deposits there, which made them highly valuable. So most of you can imagine it'd be hard to bring this together as one, right? So that's kind of the story that we're looking at today. All right. So there are kind of three people that we're going to look at today, and they're just random names. They're not going to mean that much to you, but the story, what they did is pretty cool. Okay, so Mazzini, he is the what? What is that symbol of? Mazzini's the heart. Yeah. All right. What's Garibaldi the symbol of? Strength. Bingo. And Count Camillo Cavour is the brains behind the operation. So you got someone who's emotional, someone who's strong, and someone who's smart. Typically, that's the way you get it done, right? All right. So we're going to look at Mazzini first. Okay. He got this group together, which basically was a bunch of young people that were tired of Italy not being a country. So he created a group of young dissidents. Dissidents are people that go against the grain and said, we're going to try to get rid of all these French and Austrian people that keep telling Italy what to do. So he created Young Italy. And he called this movement, it's kind of a famous Italian term, risorgimento, which again, my Italian and French and Spanish is below average, or below whatever below average is bad. But it means resurgence. So basically, he and his guys were pushed out of Italy, but when they were pushed out of Italy in 1848, they started to try to start a revolution against these foreigners. It kind of got a lot of people starting to think like, hey, we should be our own country instead of being controlled by the French, the Spanish, and the people from Austria, the Habsburgs. Okay, so that's Mazzini. He's the heart. He's the one that gets this thing going. You then have this guy, again, it's a picture. This guy by the name of Count Camillo Cavour. All right. We're going to learn about Otto von Bismarck tomorrow, but he is basically the like master politician. And so he's named the prime minister of the Kingdom of the Piedmont. And he's the one who goes around making allies with these city-states finally to make sure that they could unify. And he helps unify all the northern part of Italy. Basically, he does this through what's called diplomacy. I don't know if you know what that word means. Diplomacy. What's it mean, Austin? You were shaking your head like you got it. No? Let me go to someone else. You can try it if you want. Does anyone know what diplomacy means? So he unified the North using diplomacy instead of using war. What would that mean, Mason? No? Yeah?
But like the art of moving people, like the professional slogans.
You're on, yeah. So diplomacy means basically be like, hey, Jada, I'm gonna give you this. You're gonna give me this. We're gonna agree to work together. Instead of most old school ways of thinking were what? I'm going to go to war against you, and then I'm going to tell you what I want from you. Instead, you start to see negotiating, and that's how, I mean, again, these city-states had been city-states since before the Renaissance. This had been waiting for like 600 years, okay, to happen. All right, so he's the brains behind this thing. And then you have one of the craziest characters in history, Giuseppe Garibaldi. Okay. Basically, he went to Brazil, tried to stage a revolution in Brazil, figured out that they already had revolted against Portugal. So then he traveled all around the world. And then he heard that Italy was trying to get independence. So he went down to southern Italy and he recruited a group of volunteer young men, literally. So like people your age, a little older than you, to go out with swords, basically try to kick the Spanish and the French out of southern Italy. And they call themselves the Red Shirts. That's why when you saw his original picture in here, they wore red shirts, they wore bandanas. And in one of the more heroic acts in history, he takes over Sicily, which is that little part of the boot, the bar that's like attached. Then he goes up, takes up all of southern Italy, basically through just guerrilla warfare, hand-to-hand combat. Okay. And then he gets up there and he says, you know what? To Count Camillo Cavour, he says, I'm giving it all to you. And that's why he's kind of known as a national hero for Italy, was he kicks out the foreign Spanish Bourbon family and then he gives it back. He says, I'm good. I don't want to be the leader. I'm okay. So it's kind of like a heroic act for Italy in the sense that he brought, the North was brought together by Cavour, who was from Piedmont. The South was brought together by this rebel guy who was just very much kind of like a patriot. If you know what you can, like a patriot is someone who's nationalistic, who acts upon it. And you got the unification of Italy through these three people. All right. So on your note sheet, we would be down to what about the Papal States? So these next couple of slides, I wanted you just to look at right here. By 1861, Rome and Venice were the only ones left. All right. And the king of the Piedmont, Victor Emmanuel II, was recognized as the first king of Italy, although Venice and Rome weren't a part of it. If you ever want to see his tombstone, it's pretty cool. It's in the Pantheon. If you remember what that room, that's that place in Rome that has the hole in the ceiling, which we learned about way, way long ago when we were all virtual. That's where he's buried. Now, you got Rome, you can see here next to the Papal States, and you got Venice in the purple. Basically, they still wouldn't give it up. The Pope wouldn't give it up, and Austria wouldn't give it up. And so Florence was the capital for a little while. If you ever get to go there, that's where most of the Renaissance occurred. And that was where I wanted you guys to write down here. Yeah. So, that's on your thing where it says, what about the Papal States? Okay. Make sure I'm in the right mood here. Yep. Okay. So, Garibaldi tried to take over Rome. He loses. Victor Emmanuel meets with Napoleon III, who was the president of France at the time. Yeah, they brought another Napoleon back. And They agree that they're going to withdraw French troops that were protecting the Pope's lands within 2 years. Okay. Now, the Papal States or the Pope's land, he still has his own country inside of Rome. You guys know that today? Called the Vatican City. That's literally his own country. But they don't control all of this land anymore. Okay, it's just a real small slice about the size of North Central, our big campus here. And so the Pope doesn't actually recognize Italy. You won't believe this until 1924 in what's known as the Lateran Treaty, because of Mussolini forced him to. But the Pope didn't like this. He wanted to keep his land. All right, so we're gonna move on here. So basically, Italy joined Prussia, which will make more sense tomorrow, in a war against Austria. And when they did that, their gift from Prussia was to take over Venice. Why was Venice so important, or Venetia? Money, 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 money. That's why they're on a lot of Visa and MasterCard commercials. Okay. That was one of the most wealthy Italian places, still is to this day. A lot of it is due to tourists today, but it had a lot of heritage there. All right. So 1870, if you see the circle right here, French troops that are protecting the Pope withdraw. And Italy is able to take Rome and Venice. And so in 1871, Rome is the capital, and that was when they were finally unified. Okay. So 1871 unified. Again, that's not that long ago. That's only 150 years ago. Most people think of Italy, they think of like thousands of years of tradition. The country itself is only 150 years old. During this time, you know where a lot of Southern Italians were moving? New York City, Boston. Why? Do you think life was good when they're fighting to make themselves a country? No, it was bad. And there wasn't a lot of jobs in Italy either. All right, like I said here, Pope Pius the Ninth refused to acknowledge the state, and it wasn't until Mussolini basically said in the 1920s, you have no choice. You're part of Italy. All right. The irony here is that Italy unified by being diplomatic, like Jayla looked up for us, and not totally by just defeating everyone militarily. All right, so some tensions that occurred though. All right, so this is why there's a mafia, Italian mafia. This is when it comes about in the early 1800s and mid 1800s, because a lot of this Italian mafia moves to cities on the American East Coast and immigrates because there are no jobs. The South is primarily agricultural on bad land. The North had a lot of industry, very wealthy. Sounds kind of like the United States, right? There was a civil war in the United States, obviously. Different ways of life, different dialects of Italian. They didn't really know how to have a democracy. They wanted to. And so they're going to enter into the 20th century, the 1900s, as a pretty weak country. They are a country, they're a nation, but they have a lot of challenges. Bring together a bunch of diverse people who had pride in their little area, not necessarily for one overall country. All right. All right. Good. Do you see why it would be difficult to unify something like this that had been independent states for so long? I mean, I think you have the United States as an example for this, realistically. All right, cool. Let's go ahead then. And all right, so what similar problems do you see in our own culture or nation that Italy had to deal with upon unification? Is it difficult to rectify these problems? This is a little bit of critical thinking. I did not totally put I didn't put a timer on this one. So I want to see, get your opinion on this and have a little bit of a discussion. And then go over some answers with you on the intro and make sure you have it done. So what problems do you see in our own culture or nation that Italy had to deal with upon unification? Is it difficult to rectify? Means to solve these problems? Different beliefs, strikes and riots, okay? Different ideas among the people, them being fair to people and having different beliefs. Different kinds of people all fighting for their own justice and fighting each other rather than coming together, right? I mean, has this been rectified in our own country? No. Will it ever? You can have hope. There's got to be change. Good. Difference of political views. While trying to make change, just like Italy Lab, destruction will come along. In order to build a new, you got to destroy. Yeah. So it's interesting, like I said, a lot of these people who didn't like what was going on moved to New York City, Boston, Philadelphia, Atlantic City. And again, that's where the roots of the Italian mafia became a thing in the US, especially Southern Italy, where, in like Sicily, where Garibaldi took over. And there weren't a lot of jobs available. And if you don't know what the mafia is, it's kind of like a family-run business where you create a monopoly on something and just try to take advantage of it. All right, good answers. I got a couple people that still need to respond. Does anybody want to stay there? Answer out loud here. You feel free to if you want to. If not, I respect the fact that you don't want to. We're going to be looking at Germany tomorrow. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here. Like I said, we'll pick this back up tomorrow on your note sheet. We'll do the significance either tomorrow or Thursday. So don't worry about that column unless you understand what the significance is. Okay. And let's go ahead and look at the intro for this week. So I'm going to go over as many of these answers as I can with you in the amount of time that we have. All right. So those of you who already finished this, help us out. And those of you that did not, I wanted this done by 10 o'clock today. So this is the opportunity for you to get some of this done if you did not. So let's take a look at number one. How did that Crimean War give Germany and Italy the opportunity to finally become unified nations? Rihanna. Good. So Russia and Austria becoming weak because of the Crimean War allowed for Italy and Germany to finally get their independence. Who did the Kingdom of the Piedmont ally with to go to war against longtime rivals Austria? Jayla, go ahead. Yeah. All right, so they allied with the French at first. It's just such a weird story because they had to ally with the French to defeat Austria, and then they had to defeat the French to get them out of there. So the Kingdom of the Piedmont allied with France first. What were the main accomplishments of the leader Giuseppe Garibaldi? I think we just went over this. Pretty simple, right? What did he do? Give it to me.
He raised an army of men.
So he unified southern Italy by defeating the Spanish Bourbons and finally freeing Italy from hundreds of years of occupation. If you go to Sicily, that's all they talk about is how they were occupied by the English, they were occupied by the Habsburgs, they were occupied by the Muslim Ottoman Empire, and they finally got their independence to be themselves around 1860. And Giuseppe Garibaldi just gave it then over to the king of the Piedmont. All right, 4. What year did Italy unify and what was their new capital? Jayla's been on the point here. Can I get somebody else to hop in, please? Rihanna. 4, yeah. Good. 1870, and the capital was Rome. Even though the Pope didn't recognize Italy as a place, they still said our cultural capital should be Rome. All right. Let me give, these are pretty easy answers. So let me go over these with you real quick because I want this turned in on time. What made Prussia so strong? Military. Their military was one of the strongest in all of Europe. What tactics did Otto von Bismarck use in making Prussia strong? Yeah, it's called Realpolitik, politics of reality. I'm going to explain all this tomorrow. France had to give up Alsace and Lorraine. That's question 3. You can look that one up if you didn't. Where did all the German princes finally agree to become an empire? At the Palace of Versailles. Why is this significant? Well, that was the home of the French king and queen, and that's also where the treaty to end World War I would be signed. 5. What made Germany the strongest power in Europe after unification in 1871? Industry and military. All right, I'm going to end this. Those of you on Zoom, I hope that helped a little bit. Get those turned in, please. Have a great rest of your day.